Hello, sister girl. It is October 26, 2023. And I'm not talking super loud because Jacob is asleep. He's in the other living room. And not sure if you can hear my Alexa playing in the background. I was yelling at her before because she wasn't listening. But I was asking to play, well, I couldn't decide. So I was asking for instrumental Christmas music. Don't judge me. We're almost there, so it's not that bad. I was thinking about Christmas music in August. So I'm like, October, not too bad. And so then I switched to like jazz instrumental, and then the sound of it wasn't what I was going for. And so then I just settled for Christian worship music, which never fails. So that's playing in the background. And I was just going over my journal. So just the same way I look back on like my prior check-ins, I do the same when I go to my journal. So this is my journal. And I've always had many journals, but this one I dedicated to continue using for everything, whatever thoughts I have, whatever I'm learning, for everything, so that everything can just be in one journal. But I still have so many that whichever one is next to me, it's closest to me, that's where I'm going to write it, because I don't want to forget, you know what I'm saying? And then I can always go back to this journal and write everything out. I shared in one of my prior check-ins that I wanted to share the things that I'm grateful for that I've gained throughout this journey of going to therapy and healing and growing, and then share the challenges that I've experienced. And so I had journaled a few of the things, but I didn't journal them, like I didn't make a list. I just knew that I had written a few things down throughout the journey. And I just decided to just make a list for me to like bullet points, so that I can be reminded of what, instead of me flipping through pages and stuff. But anywho, so I guess I'm going to start off with sharing the things that I've gained in going to therapy and just working on investing in myself. So awesome that Edison shared what he shared today, because for a long time I was that person. I would want to share and encourage other people and pour into them, but she mad loud. Now she wants to be loud when I told her to. Anyway, but yeah, that was me. I used to be the type of person that would pour in, but didn't really pour into myself, nor took the advice that I shared with others. And so being on this journey, I've learned to do that. And at first it was challenging, but I think I'll get to that a little later. I want to start off with the things that I've gained and like the positive aspects of being on this journey. And so the first thing that I listed as I was like going through my journal and making a list of all of the things, and these are just some of the things, and plus I continue learning and gaining things, and then the things that I found to be challenging I have overcome, and so then I make a note of that. But one of the first things that I listed was self-awareness and understanding. So with the help of therapy and with the help of my therapist, and just also being that much more intentional in depending on God and just cultivating this relationship that I have with the Lord, with the power of the Holy Spirit, and just understanding more of God, I've learned, I've recognized that my self-awareness and my understanding of my emotions, my thoughts, and just my behavior has increased. I wasn't as aware as I am now, and I believe that I find myself becoming more aware with time. And so yeah, I have found myself to be much more aware of why I do the things that I do, why I've done the things that I've done, why I think the way that I think, why I've had the thoughts that I've had in the past, and just my feelings and my emotions. Like, I'm aware of them, and I've learned to embrace them. I've learned to sit with them. And there was a book that I read that was just so powerful and so profound to me, because it used the example of a child, right? A child tugging on a parent's shirt. Let's say, for example, Jacob, let's say he's like a year old and he's tugging on my hoodie, and I'm here focused on, making this video, and he's tugging and tugging. And I'm just like, Jacob, stop, Jacob, stop. And, or just telling him to shh, or whatever, whatever I would say, just so that I could be focused and he could stop could stop bugging me. Well, that example that they shared in the book was, that's how we treat our feelings. And that's how I was treating my feelings and my own emotions and my thoughts. That anytime they would rise up, and anytime they would need attention, I would disregard, I would suppress them, I would critique them, I would judge them, like my emotions, my own thoughts, my own needs, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I would critique them instead of embracing, instead of nurturing. And that's me, embracing myself, nurturing myself. And so that tug was me. And yet I would always find it to be like an inconvenience or a bother. And in reading that book and just learning and growing and healing, I've learned to embrace those emotions that try to rise up. I don't have to make them my permanent emotions, but I can embrace them, recognize it, and process it, I guess. In doing so, I've been able to say, okay, well, this is how I'm feeling as I'm thinking about this, or these are my thoughts as this is happening, or as this happened, or whatever the case may be. It's, normally it's things of the past. And so when those things rise up, I often find myself no longer neglecting or rejecting it or resisting it. I embrace it. I've learned to nurture it, and I've learned to rest in that process. And so I've been able to say, okay, I may be thinking of what has happened, but I don't have to make that my reality today. And that's also learning how to be present. So I can say that this happened to me, and this is why it hurts so much as I think about it, because this is what happened. But as I allow myself to be present, like if I'm thinking of a thought and it brings a suffering in my heart, I can be present and say, okay, Jennifer, you're here. You're sitting on this couch. The kids are good. Edison's at work. You're not in pain right now. You're safe. And yes, though this memory of this story of what happened is causing you the pain that you're feeling right now, you don't have to make this your present, because this is not your present. Your present is what's happening at this very moment. And so I can embrace it and say, okay, this is what's happening. But now I'm able to introduce the present moment to that inner child that is reminiscing or wishing that the past could have been different. And which reminds me that in the process of learning how to be self-aware and being able to understand my thoughts and emotions and my behaviors, of my past behaviors as well, I've also learned how to forgive. And Viola Davis, she said in one of her interviews that she had with Oprah, or maybe Oprah said it, but one of them said that forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could have been any different. When I watched that interview and I heard that, I broke into tears. And I actually have a check-in that I will never show because that's just between me and God. But I poured my heart out because in that moment it triggered. And so those are that's actually one of the things that I have on my list on the challenges that I've experienced. Because certain things, although I'm on this journey of healing and I've healed from a lot and I've grown in a lot of areas, there's still areas that I'm still healing from, and there's still areas that I'm still growing in. But there could be certain situations, there's certain people that can trigger a certain area that's still not fully healed. And it can consume you if you allow it. And so in that moment of listening to that quote as they said it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm hurting right now because I wish that the past could have been different. But forgiving is giving up the hope that it could have been different, because there's nothing that I can do about it now other than just saying, okay, I'm going to forgive. I'm going to forgive the hope that it could have been any different. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It's just so profound, and it freed me from holding on to something that there's just nothing that I can do to change what has happened, but I can change how I react to it. I can do something about that, and I think that that's what I'm responsible for. I am not responsible for what happened to me, but I'm responsible for how I allow it to continue to affect me. And so it's not to judge myself when certain thoughts come up or when certain emotions arise, or when I do certain things that are the result of what has happened to me. I can say, okay, well, I see this is why I'm doing this or doing that, and this stems from what has happened to me. Or, okay, so this is something that I need to work on a little bit more, give this a little bit more attention in order for me to be able to overcome the next time it happens. And not judge myself for it, not critique myself for it, but own it and say, okay, well, this is what's happening. I'm recognizing it. I am embracing it. I'm not rejecting it. I'm not resisting it. I'm not neglecting it. But I don't have to sit with it for too long before I can say, okay, I'm releasing it. I got you now, Jen. You know? And it's just something powerful that happens when you get to that place. And it took me a long time to finally get there, but I'm grateful that I'm here. And I know that I still have a long way to go, but I know that this is, what is it? It's not a race, it's a marathon. Is that the right way I'm saying? I don't know. But before I used to want to, okay, let's get to the root of it. Let's get to the reason why I have so much pain, why I have so many unresolved trauma, why, I need to heal my inner child. Like, I need to get to the bottom of it. I need to get to the root of it. And with the help of the Holy Spirit, He's comforted me. He's reminded me that just the same way He extends grace to me, I have to extend that same grace to myself, and be patient with myself, have compassion, empathize with me as I do with others. And so that was just one point. That was just the self-awareness and understanding. And I think the mental and emotional well-being, I can tie into that. Because whenever I am anxious or find myself feeling sad or down, or what I consider to be like a mild depression, now versus then, it doesn't last as long as it used to. So I allow myself to feel what I believe I need to feel in order for me to process it, in order for me to give myself the permission to feel, the permission to cry, the permission to feel angry if I want to feel angry about it, because my feelings are valid. As a little girl, I used to be the mediator between my mom and my dad. So I always put their feelings before my own. And I don't believe that they were capable of giving me the permission to feel. And so now as an adult, I'm parenting myself in a way and giving myself the permission to do that, to feel. But also, because I am who I am today, I'm not that little girl anymore. With the wisdom and understanding that I have now, I know now to say, okay, all right, I recognize what's happening, but now I'm responsible to transform that into something new. So yeah, maybe I'll do a check-in of my other bullet points on a separate video. Toodles.